Welcome to our real estate investing series, where we're going to be talking about anything and everything real estate. From why one would get into real estate investing to some of the challenges that you might experience as you get started or growing your real estate investment portfolio. We're here to talk about everything real estate.
We're going to talk about some challenges that we've faced and some of our other investors have faced along the way as well, and show you some of the solutions that we've been able to put in place to solve these problems.
Brian, tell us why one would want to get into real estate investing. What are some of the reasons you'd like to do that versus other real estate investments or other investments?
So I'll tell you why I did it. The reason I got into real estate investing, in all honesty, about 10 years ago, I wanted to become debt-free. And I'd read a couple books, I'd listened to a couple podcasts, and I was like, you know what, I think I can do this. So there's so much cash flow and income that you can get from real estate investing that you can supplement throughout the other businesses and work income that you're receiving, and that can go in to paying down your debt that you've already accumulated over time. There's different ways to make income in real estate investing, and the main one's kind of cash flow. A lot of people get into it for appreciation, but really at the end of the day, the cash flow is what's going to make your payments now versus the appreciation you're just hoping it's going to be more valuable later. I will tell you one thing that I've learned is you can't go into real estate investing looking for both. You either go for cash flow real estate or appreciation real estate. Now, hopefully you'll end up getting both, but if you go in looking for both, that's when you're going to lose.
Talk to me about what really is the difference in cash flow and appreciation. Just kind of bring it down to a third grade level of what you mean by that.
Okay, so really your cash flow is, if it's as simple as if your income coming in is greater than your expenses going out, that's when you're going to have cash flow income. If your expenses going out is greater than your income coming in, you're basically going to have to continue to bring cash to the table just to keep this investment moving forward. From an appreciation standpoint, the best way to look at it is, let's say I buy a house. No matter what the cash flow aspect is, whether I'm making money, spending money, or it's just breaking even, the thought process is, hey, it's going to grow at a certain percentage over a certain amount of time, and then when I turn around and sell it, I'm selling it more than what I bought it for.
Okay, so if what I'm hearing is, if I'm going to get into real estate investing, really I'm looking at it from, okay, I've got $1,000 in rent, and it costs me in general maintenance roughly $800. I have and expenses. I have $200 of positive cash flow, money coming in that I can then take that money and then go to pay down my debts.
Correct. That's exactly.
So, and then the other one that you're talking about is the appreciation. So I buy it. I've got $1,000 in rent, and let's say I have $1,000 in expenses, which is a wash. I'm not really making any money, but my house is increasing in value 3%, 6%, 8% a year. So my $100,000 house in 5 years could be upwards of $130,000, $150,000. So there's those two different ways of looking at it.
Right, and the way I was taught is you look at it, you think about it on a triangle or pyramid way to look at it. So at the top, you have more of your appreciation assets, more of your appreciation houses. It's going to be basically your higher dollar houses. You're not going to get as much cash flow the higher the value of the house is. The lower the value of the house is, you're going to get much more cash flow. So in those houses, your rent's going to increase faster than the value of the house is. So that's where you're going to see more cash flow growth. Versus the higher end, higher valued houses, the appreciation is going to be faster than the cash flow growth. So therefore, you're not going to cash flow as much. You may actually have a negative cash flow, but at the end of the day, you're going to have a positive return on appreciation.
Fantastic, fantastic. So now that we've kind of uncovered why someone want to get into real estate investing, and we know that that's just your experience is specific to you, but there's a million reasons of why someone want to do it. Talk to me about some of the initial challenges that you and others that are getting involved in real estate investing face.
Yeah, sure. So probably the biggest thing right off the bat is if you don't get a win right away, you're out of the game. You want to get out of the game. So what a win looks like is making money, and the biggest thing that you face at the very beginning is the lack of spread of vacancy. So if you're in cash flow properties and you're looking at buying rental houses basically, then your biggest risk up front is I've got one house and then I've got vacancy in that one house and the expenses don't go away. So now you have zero income coming in and you have all these expenses to pay for. So what I've helped people with and what I've told people is at the beginning of your phase, at the beginning when you're starting your investment business, you want to buy as many as you can as quick as you can. Right. Because at the end of the day, the further you can spread that vacancy expense over all your properties, the easier it's going to be to digest that.
So contrary to what a lot of people would think, so you're saying it's more risky to buy one property, wait, and buy another property and wait. It's more risky than if you are able to secure the financing and go out, or the ways to go out and buy multiple properties. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. So think about it this way. I have 10 properties and 8 of them are occupied, 2 of them are vacant. Right. And then I've got, let's call it $8,000 worth of expenses. Well, I have $8,000 coming in on the 8 properties, even though I've got $2,000 of vacancy on the other 2. That $8,000 is covering my $8,000 in expenses. I'm not making any money, but I'm not losing any at the same time. Versus I've got one property that rents for $1,000. I've got $500 in expenses, let's call it. There's vacancy with the $1,000. I'm coming out of pocket $500 there.
Right, and I guess vacancy is just one aspect of the expenses that you can face with properties. If you have a big ticket item that that fails that you have to take care of, whether it be replacing a roof, taking care of an air conditioning and heating system, or whatever it is. If you've got 10, 15 properties that are occupied, the positive cash flow is going to easily be able to help take care of those issues versus dipping back into your own personal pocket and taking from income that is not associated with your investments to be able to take care of those issues.
Right, it's the same concept. It just highlights the need to have more properties quicker, because if you have an HVAC issue on one property, that's a huge expense. Even if you have that property occupied, you still got a huge expense. Versus the cash flow on all the other properties, even if you have vacancy at some of them, when you have a big ticket item like an HVAC system come in, go out, then you have that ability to cover that through your cash flow.
So those are, I really like how the analyzation of the risk of having more properties versus fewer properties on the initial output. But let's say that you have an investor, yourself, that has a full-time job. You're working 9 to 5 over here. I could see taking care of one property by myself, getting a tenant, collecting rent. But when you're talking about to reduce risk, you're going to need 8, 10, 12 properties, or just multiple properties. How do you handle, as an investor with a job, how do you handle being able to manage multiple properties like that?
So that's where the challenge comes in of, I know a lot of investors and a lot of people that aren't investors that have thought about being investors think about investing in real estate as this is a 24-hour-a-day job, because my phone always has to be on for if a tenant calls and the toilet breaks or HVAC goes out or some kind of maintenance issue happens, I've always got to be there for them. So the biggest thing is, I think when people first get into the investment game, they think they can do it all on their own. It's a cash flow kind of thought process for them. I can do all this now, and it costs me less to do it.
Right.
But basically, your investor is going to get up to about 10 properties where they can do that. Once you expand much more than that, management becomes an issue, and it's going to start waning on other parts of your life, whether it be your work, your family, whatever. And you really need that kind of property management company to come in there and take all of the 24/7 stuff off of your plate so you can focus on other things.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, walking through that, when you're talking about an investment, this is, an investment is I put money down to be able to get money back on an ongoing basis or in a lump sum at the end. It seems like to me that a lot of investors end up not just having an investment, but they create another job for themselves to do. And, if I've got a job that I work, 8 to 5, and then I go buy real estate and become a real estate investor, I've really created, I'm an investor, but I'm also a property manager, I'm a debt collector, I'm a this, that, and the other. And I've created myself a whole bunch of jobs that take away, that take time. I mean, it's just call it what it is. It's a time suck.
Yeah, I mean, just like in any business, scaling is the way to growth. Yeah. And when investors get into this business, they want to do everything themselves. Again, it's a cost issue at the early part of the game. But what happens is you get stuck. And kind of like in Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, you think you're an investor or you think you're a business owner, but really you're just caught up in the rat race at that point, and you're just a self-employed person.
Right.
Even though you're invested in real estate, you're just a self-employed person at that point, and you've got an additional job.
Absolutely, absolutely. With all the time issues that come into having a larger portfolio or even a more sustainable portfolio, as you mentioned, reducing the risks, talk to us about how important it is to really get your team of people around you that are going to make this work real well for you.
Yeah, the team you're putting around you is probably one of the most important things you do, especially at the very beginning. You have different aspects of the team. You have an attorney. You have most likely a real estate agent that's going to be helping you buy these properties. You're going to want to put some maintenance people around you. And then the big thing is your property management team. Once you get to that point where you're like, I need somebody else to do all of this other stuff, the 24/7 stuff, you need to put a very strong property management team around you.
Sure. And when you do that, when you bring in your property management team and you've got your attorneys, your accountants, your maintenance folks, what does that allow you to do? I'm guessing you get more of your time back, which then allows you to grow your business.
Yeah, so again, it's like scaling. Now we're becoming an investor, because what I've done with my business at that point, once I have my team around me, I can go out and I can find the deals. I can focus on the higher dollar productive activities that come with investing in real estate. I can find the deals, which is the biggest thing in this game. And then once I find them, then I can pass it off to my team members and let them do everything they need to do.
Awesome. And there's a lot of, people don't think there's a lot of things that go into real estate investing. All of the you said the 24-hour-a-day stuff. I mean, it's not a sexy business when you really drill down into it. I mean, it's very important, providing housing for people. But then there's a lot of the things that go along with it, collecting rents, handling the toilet break, the sewage backups, the whatever that comes up on the day-to-day stuff. And those aren't sexy, but they are also very time consuming and need to be dealt with to make sure your investment is performing and things are going well. Walk us through, at Realty Consultants, one of the big things that we do that is really difficult for a single person to do with multiple investments is getting out to see their property, getting inside the houses or the condos or whatever their real estate investment is, and being able to walk through and A, make sure that the person that's in there is taking care of it, B, that there's not an unseen item that they're not seeing that is deteriorating the investment. Walk us through how important it is to really step on site, visually see your property, and make sure it's being taken care of.
Yeah, wow, that's a huge issue. I remember sitting down, or I remember being with a city inspector at one of my properties one time, and we got into talking about this issue, and he mentioned, he said, you wouldn't believe how many times I've been in a property with an owner, and the owner said, I have not been in this property in 5 years. I had no idea it was this bad. And that's why it's so important to be able to get into these properties, at the very least on a biannual basis, if not a quarterly basis, kind of like what we do. We'll go in on a quarterly basis and we take pictures and we look and see what's going on. But so many issues can pop up. And if you're not going in and putting eyeballs on these properties on a continual basis, this is where you have the major maintenance issues going forward.
Yeah, and even beyond maintenance issues, you have big capital expenditures, that could have been easily resolved. I mean, let's just, one of the biggest ticket items that are in a house that are break and have to be taken care of are air conditioning and heating systems. And we all know that if you regularly maintain your filter systems and make sure your air filters are changed, that greatly increases the useful life of your systems. And at Realty Consultants, one of the things that we do is we drop ship, so we send to the tenants every quarter high-end filters that match the sizes that they need when they need it. And then we follow back up during our inspection period to make sure that they're being installed and they're dated. And it's just one of those small things. While there's a lot of things that go into it. It's one of those small things that can save thousands upon thousands of dollars and extend the useful life of those systems.
No doubt. One thing that most investors do that typically are not using management companies, they rely on the tenants to put the air filters in their systems. And most likely what happens is it doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen, at the very best, it doesn't happen in a timely fashion. Right. That's one thing we've noticed. We've noticed as we brought in, new investors into our system, and we've put these things in place, that it wasn't happening. The investors rely typically on the tenants to maintain that stuff, and it's just not happening. So what we've been able to do, the solution we've been able to do is we do give the tenants these filters, and then if they're not putting them in the timely basis, we find out about it and we see it in our inspections that we do quarterly, and we go in and we fix that problem.
Yeah, and we hold them accountable to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.